Illinois defeated Northwestern 81-71. And Michigan was a 3-point winner in a mile upset over Iowa, 68-65. That, by the way, was the first loss of the year in all games by the Iowa Hawkeyes. There's one other game scheduled tonight, and that's at Michigan State, where Minnesota will be visiting the Spartans. One other score of importance around the country: Tennessee upset number 2 ranked Kentucky by a score of 49-47. And we listened to that one, Bob, coming over, and Kentucky really never got out of the gates.
They didn't, Joe, and it's important to get started early. Kentucky has had a problem with Tennessee. I believe they've lost there the last 4 times they played in Knoxville. So that's something that Kentucky will have to overcome, and I think it just shows the evenness of all the basketball teams in the country. You can't expect to go in and win any basketball game. You have to go prove yourself every night, and we're going to find that out here tonight, as both of these teams are high-ranked and high-powered offensive and defensive clubs, and the statistics are very, very even.
We were talking about these 2 clubs that will be playing here at St. John Arena tonight, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Purdue Boilermakers. Both of them have records of 8-1. Both have another non-conference game to play later. The Boilermakers will be playing next Sunday against Syracuse at Purdue, and the Ohio State Buckeyes have a game against Virginia on January 27. Those were moved to accommodate national television. Another interesting thing about these 2 squads, they suffered their individual losses to teams from the state of Kentucky. The Boilermakers lost to Kentucky in the championship game of the Invitational, 61-60, whereas the Ohio State Buckeyes lost their only game at Louisville, to Louisville by 10, 75-65. The officials for tonight's game, by the way, will be Charles Foudy, Eric Harmon, and Tony Stigliano. Now we're just about set with the starting lineups for tonight's battle. We're delighted to have you along the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. I'm Joe Pate along with Bob Ford. And now the starting lineups for tonight's game. For the Ohio State Buckeyes, 8-1, and for Purdue, 8-1. We still don't know for sure for the Boilermakers. Arnett Holman will start. So, a surprise, Arnett Holman, the 6'7" senior out of Chicago, averaging 7.9. The forward for Ohio State will be the great freshman, 6'7", Clark Kellogg. Kellogg has been averaging 11.2. Drake Morris will be the other starting forward, averaging 8.4, 6'6" junior out of East Chicago. Here's Clark Kellogg. Jim Smith was the other forward. Joe Barry Carroll will be the starting center for the Boilermakers, the 7'1" senior, the leading scorer in the Big Ten, averaging 26 points per game. Here's Herb Williams, the center for the Buckeyes, 6'10" junior out of Columbus, the team's leading scorer at 16 points per game. Brian Walker, the 6'2" junior out of Lebanon, will be one of the starting guards, averaging 3.4. Here's Carter Scott, one of the starting guards for the Buckeyes, averaging 9.7, 4th highest on the squad. Here's Keith Edmondson, the other starter for the Boilermakers, the sophomore, 6'5", out of San Antonio. Done a great job for the Boilermakers, averaging 12.8. And the final starter for Ohio State, Kelvin Ramsey, out of Toledo, Ohio, the 6'1" senior, second highest score on the squad, 15.2. And I neglected to give you the statistics for Jim Smith out of Cleveland, the 6'8" junior, averaging 8.3. The starting lineups, Bob, and it ought to be a tremendous battle.
There's no doubt that these 2 teams will be ready to play tonight, especially with the things that have happened in the league this afternoon with Iowa losing, Indiana losing. Those were the other 2 contenders at preseason time. And now Purdue and Ohio State, one of these teams is going to come out of here with a definite advantage, especially Purdue if they can win on the road, and Ohio State as well. If they can win here at home again tonight, it's all important in the Big Ten Conference that you win all of your home games and try to split on the road.
So Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Purdue are the only undefeated Big Ten teams after the first 1.5 days of Big Ten play. We have 2 games scheduled tonight. The Boilermakers waiting now for the Buckeyes to get out onto the floor.
I might say something about Arnett Hallman here starting tonight. He's one of those players who will play hurt if he can possibly stand it, and if the trainers turned him loose. They did turn him loose, and Arnett is a kind of gutty player, and we'll just see how well that knee responds to the action here in the first half.
Herb Williams is 6'10". Joe Barry Carroll 7'1". Delighted to have you along. Hope you're enjoying our telecast here tonight from St. John Arena. Nearly 14,000. Arnett Hallman gets the ball. Ryan Walker will send it to the forecourt, and Keith Edmondson will be working down against Scott. Comes out to Hallman. He's guarded by number 23, Jim Smith. Goes into Carroll. Carroll up, and it didn't go. Hallman cuts off, goes up for the basket, and scores. And the Boilermakers lead by a score of 2-0 on the basket by Arnett Hallman. Coming in the first 20 seconds of play. Boilermakers will set up in a zone defense. Carter Scott, Kelvin Rancy are out front, along with Clark Kellogg, who scored 51 points in a high school championship game. Down into Smith. Back out to Carter Scott. Goes inside. Loose ball stolen away by Morris. The first turnover by the Buckeyes. Purdue leads 2-0. We are 50 seconds into the first half. In this tremendous Big Ten battle at Columbus, Ohio, Ohio State ranked number 5. The Boilermakers are number 8 in both polls. Drake Morris sends it out to Arnett Hallman. Goes into Carroll. Carroll working against Williams. The shot is up. It's no good. Hallman keeps it alive. It's still alive. Pulling it down is Jim Smith. Third leading rebounder for the Buckeyes, averaging 5.6. Kelvin Rancy has scored in double figures in 72 consecutive games. He has the ball. Shot is missed by Scott. It's cleared off by Jim Smith. Sends it out. Loose ball. Boilermakers get it. Second turnover for the Buckeyes. Long pass down to Drake Morris. Up and no, but there's a foul on the play. And the foul will be marked against number 33. I believe it'll be Kellogg.
Good quick down by the Boilermakers, finding Drake Morris. Got a handle on the ball, and there you see the foul on number 33, Kellogg, as the 233s went after it. And the Boilermakers are trying already to post down low with Morris and Hallman, whoever is being guarded by Kellogg, trying to take advantage of the young man's first time around in the Big Ten.
The Boilermakers as a team shoot .667 from the free throw line. Ohio State .738 as Lee Rose looks for his 268th collegiate victory. Drake Morris will be at the line. He'll have 2 tries, and we have an official's timeout now. Now we get it all straightened out. Something apparently was on the floor down at the other end. So Drake Morris will be at the free throw line, 16 out of 21, shooting 76% on the year. He's averaging 8.4. Morris trying to give the Boilermakers a 3-0 lead. Boilermakers have had difficulty at the free throw line. As I indicated, as a team, Purdue is shooting only .667. A basket by Arnett Hallman, and Morris is now at the free throw line. Boilermakers lead 3-0. And we have an official's timeout. And it'll be Steve Walker coming in, and Arnett Hallman is coming out.
Walker replaces Arnett Hallman.
They had a bit of a slow horn that time trying to get Steve Walker in the ball game. It was a legal substitution. The scorer was just a bit slow hitting the horn, and Ohio State was very quick getting the ball out of bounds.
So it'll be 3-0 Purdue, 19:31 to play, as Eldon Miller, the head coach, in his 17th year as a head coach, 4th year here at Ohio State. He's done a good job since coming on the scene. The guards, Rancy and Scott, goes in underside, and Smith is going to be fouled by Keith Edmondson. Edmondson, first foul. Each team has committed a foul. We're going to see that one again.
Good job inside by both of these players. Smith goes strong. There you see Edmondson on top with the left hand. He grabbed a hold of Smith's body, gave him a shove. It was a good block otherwise. Good call by the officials, and it's going to be rugged inside.
And Arnett Hallman has come back into the lineup for the Boilermakers. That is Hallman along the right side of the lane. Williams puts it up. No basket. He stepped on the line. Take it away. No point for Jim Smith. He stepped on the line. So Smith will try to get this one. Shooting 54% from the free throw line. 7 out of 13 coming in. He missed this one. It's kept alive and into the hands of Drake Morris. And the Boilermakers doing a nice job so far. Leading 3-0. We are a minute 15 into the game. Farm Bureau Insurance and its 500 agents in the state of Indiana presenting the action tonight from St. John Arena. Keith Edmondson averaging 12.8, working against Carter Scott. Arnett Hallman goes over to Drake Morris. He's guarded by Jim Smith. Here is a hook by Carroll. No, kept it alive, and Morris comes up with the ball. Good hustle by Carroll. Morrow goes underneath the Carroll. Up and in. Carroll's first basket. And the Boilermakers have jumped off to a 5-0 lead on the Buckeyes. We played better than 2 minutes here as the crowd comes alive. The Boilermakers in a 1-2-2 zone. Scott comes out to Ramsey. We played 2.5 minutes, and the Buckeyes don't have anything yet. This is Williams. Or Kellogg missing, gets the rebound. Loose, stolen away by the Boilermakers. Third turnover for the Buckeyes. Edmondson down. Quickly cut off by Ramsey. Shoots anyway. Scores! Edmondson's first basket, and the Boilermakers lead 7-0. We played 2 minutes and 45 seconds in this one.
And the Boilermakers shooting very well from the field. They've gotten off 6 shots already. Ohio State's only gotten off 3, mainly because of the defense and a couple of turnovers.
A 1-2-2 zone there put up by the Boilermakers as Clark Kellogg with the ball. Gives it off to Ramsey. Fires it up. No. And it's loose into the hands of Williams. A no basket. There'll be a foul going to be called, and it'll be on Carroll, I believe. Joe Barry Carroll is guilty of his first foul. That's the second foul called against Purdue, 1 against the Buckeyes.
That time dropped down in between all of the players out there as number 35. Benson comes into the lineup for the Boilermakers, a 6'10 freshman. The ball fell to the floor. Nobody went after it. Carroll was out of position and committed the foul.
Common foul gives the ball out of bounds to the Buckeyes, and we've got a foul. And it'll be called on Benson, who just came in. Number 1 on Ted, and that's the third foul called against the Boilermakers.
Ohio State will certainly try to go inside now to Williams with Benson on him, and Benson comes in every time Carroll commits a foul. Joe Barry on the bench now with his first one, and they'll be looking inside to Williams with his experience.
And Clark Kellogg will send it inbounds. He does way outside. It comes to Carter Scott out of Barberton, Ohio. Pass underneath. It goes up there. Kellogg misses. It's cleared off by Benson, the freshman out of Atlanta, and he is fouled. And it'll be marked against Kellogg. That'll be number 2 on the freshman out of Cleveland, Ohio. That's the second foul against the Buckeyes.
2 Boilermakers converge in on the defense as the shot is taken by Kellogg. When it came back off, Benson in position, got the rebound. Kellogg with the foul.
Back to live action. Purdue leading 7-0. The Boilermakers ball comes in, bounce to Brian Walker. Walker working against Kelvin Ramsey. We played better than 3 minutes, 3:20, and the Buckeyes don't have a score yet. Edmondson goes back, gets the loose ball. It was knocked back for the Buckeyes. Edmondson working down. Now we've got a blocking foul, and it'll be called on number 15, Carter Scott. Number 1 on him, number 3 on the Buckeyes. Each team has committed 3 fouls here in the first 3 minutes and 28 seconds of play. Eldon Miller looking for his 281st collegiate victory.
The Boilermakers shooting at a 50% clip thus far here in the first half on 3 of 6. Ohio State yet to drop one in. They've taken 5 shots.
Drake Morris out of East Chicago, Washington will put it in bounds. It comes into Steve Walker. Brian Walker. Brian works it down. Working against Ramsey. Goes to Drake Morris. He's working against Smith. Comes out to Arnett Holman, who got the first basket of tonight's game after missing the last 2 games. Purdue leads 7-0. We played better than 3 minutes. Here's Brian Walker going to Edmondson, up and in. Edmondson's second basket, and the Boilermakers lead 9-0. And we played nearly 4 minutes in this game, and the Buckeyes don't have a point yet. We played 4. Carroll is getting ready to come back in for the Boilermakers. Kellogg with the ball. Comes over to Scott. In underneath. Kellogg scores. Kellogg's first basket, and the Buckeyes went better than 4 minutes, about 4:09 before Ohio State was able to get on the board. Brian Walker down into the corner. Drake Morris with the ball. 15.5 minutes to play, first half. Ohio State playing the man-to-man. Brian Walker picked up there by Kelvin Ramsey. Arnett Holman guarded by Jim Smith. Goes to Edmondson. He lost the ball, knocked away. It'll belong to the Buckeyes. That's the first turnover for Purdue. Joe Barry Carroll comes back into the lineup for the Boilermakers. We'll look at that one again on the baseline.
Nice try to get it inside to Edmondson. Couldn't find a handle on it, and he knocks it out of bounds.
And we have a timeout with 15:16 to play in the half. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue leads Ohio State 9-2. Makers and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Purdue leading 9-2. We have a little more than 15 minutes to play in the first half. The Boilermakers play again at West Lafayette on Thursday. Be playing host to Illinois a week from today at 4 o'clock Eastern time on many of these same Farm Bureau Insurance Network stations. We'll be televising the Purdue-Michigan game. Then the Boilermakers have a game on Sunday afternoon also against 10th rated and undefeated Syracuse. It's Ohio State's ball. 9-2 Purdue. Boilermakers in a zone. Buckeyes went better than 4 minutes before they were able to get on the scoreboard here. Loose ball retrieved by Kelvin Ramsey. The only bucket has been scored by Kellogg, the outstanding freshman out of Cleveland, Ohio. This is Carter Scott. Goes down to Williams, or to Smith. Back out to Scott. Kellogg with the ball. Goes to Ramsey. Ramsey averages 15-2.
The Purdue zone very stingy on the inside.
Shot is a beauty by Kellogg. He's got 4. It's 9-4 Purdue. So the Buckeyes have scored 2 unanswered baskets. We're 5.5 minutes deep into the game. Carroll on a give and go underneath. Morris saved it from going out of bounds in a good hustle. Purdue's thrown the ball away once. The Buckeyes 3. Goes under to Carroll. Carroll up. Walking violation, takes the basket away. Second turnover for the Boilermakers. Lee Rose doesn't appreciate the call by Charles Foudy. 9-4. Boilermakers bringing it down as Kelvin Ramsey. Capacity crowd here on hand. Nearly 14,000. Here's the turnaround jumper. It's missed by Kellogg. Knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to the Boilermakers. Six minutes deep into the game. Brian Walker on the dribble. Keith Edmondson with 4 points. 4 of the 9 on the board. Carroll has 2. Arnett Holman has 2. And Drake Morris has 1. Shot is missed by Morris. And it is pulled off the board by Scott. Here comes Ramsey driving, putting it up, scoring. Ramsey's basket cuts the lead. 9-6. 3 unanswered baskets by the Buckeyes. Ramsey and Kellogg with 4.
I think you can see the explosiveness of both of these ball clubs as Purdue jumped out real quick, but Ohio State right back in it as they got into the flow of the offense.
Ryan Walker with the ball. Ohio State in the man-to-man. Here's Carroll turning, jumping, shooting the top. And it is pulled down. And a foul is going to be called. And Eldon Miller doesn't appreciate the call. We'll see what happened underneath the basketball.
Carroll makes a good move here, but a nice block by Herb Williams. And here you'll see the fight for the rebound. They called it on Smith as he and Morris went together up in the air, and Smith will pick up the personal foul, and that's number 1 on him.
So the ball will be out of bounds to the Boilermakers underneath the basket. Brian Walker will throw it in for Purdue. Purdue jumped off to a 9-0 lead. Here's Edmondson looking for a 6-point. Couldn't get the roll. Carter Scott brings it down quickly for the Buckeyes. Stops, takes the short jumper, scores. Scott has the basket. And it is 9-8. 8 unanswered points by the Buckeyes. Cuts the lead. 9-8. 12:59 to play in the half. Here's Edmondson working down against Carter Scott. Out to Arnett Holman, who scored the first basket of tonight's basketball game. Underneath the Carroll, jumping, shooting. It wouldn't stay. And it'll be counting, and I'm not sure who will get credit for the basket. I think Arnett Holman will get the basket. It'll be 4 for him, and the Boilermakers lead 11-8. Eldon Miller thought it should have been an offensive goaltending. Not so, said the official. Here is Ramsey firing, missing. Carroll rebounds. Carroll pulls down 8 rebounds a game. The basket was credited to Arnett Holman. Here's over the back. Kellogg knocked the ball away. It'll be out of bounds to Purdue. Substitution. Here's Mike Scarce. The 6'7" sophomore out of Lexington comes in to replace Drake Morris. Scarce comes in with a 9-point average per game. Substitution, number 32, Kevin Stallings comes in for the Boilermakers, replacing Ryan Walker. Stallings is the 6'5" sophomore out of Collinsville, Illinois, averaging 3.3. Purdue leads 11-8 after the Buckeyes had scored 8 after the Boilermakers jumped off to a 9-0 lead. 12:14 to play, first half. Your host, Farm Bureau Insurance, and its 500 agents in the state of Indiana, presenting the action this Big Ten game from St. John Arena in Columbus, Ohio.
1-3-1 zone being put on by Ohio State at this point, and they're using Herb Williams the same way Purdue uses Carroll. That's out on the wing.
Keith Edmondson with the ball, comes out to Arnett Holman. Now it goes over to Stallings. He can hit from there. Stallings scores his first basket, and the Boilermakers lead by 5. Jumped off to a 9-0 lead. Then the Buckeyes got 8. Now the Boilermakers have scored 2 unanswered baskets. Each team with a record of 8-1. The ball is knocked away, retrieved by the Buckeyes, and jumping and scoring is Herb Williams, his first basket. It's 13-10, and Bob, this one is what everybody thought it would be.
There's a battle to the boards, and that's going to be the key, I believe. If you can control your own offensive board, you're going to be in pretty good shape for this one.
This is Kevin Stallings. Comes out to Arnett Holman. Goes over to Keith Edmondson. In underneath the Stallings. Makes his move out to Mike Scares. Scares with the ball to Stallings. And a violation, 3-second call on the Boilermakers. 3rd turnover for Purdue, 3 also for the Buckeyes. We have a timeout with 11:07 to play in the half. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue leads the Buckeyes 13-10.
They did not score until the 47-second mark here in the first half of play. It's now 13-10, and it's been an outstanding basketball game with tremendous action. And a lot of the action is coming down in tight, where the Purdue zone is being very stingy, and Ohio State is doubling up on Joe Barry Carroll.
We've had a lot of balanced scoring in this one so far, Bob. Arnett Holman has 4, and Keith Edmondson has 4. Here's a final from this afternoon. Wisconsin defeated Indiana 52-50. Isaiah Thomas and Claude Gregory were the leading scorers for the respective squads.
Looking at the shooting statistics at this point, the Boilermakers are 6 out of 12 for 50%. Ohio State is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 13, 38.4.
So with a score of 13-10 Purdue, the Buckeyes have the basketball, and Clark Kellogg gives it outside. It is Scott jumping, no good, off into Stallings. Stallings through the traffic to Edmondson. Edmondson down, jumping, shooting the short jumper. It is no good. It's pulled off there by Ramsey. He brings it back down quickly. Kellogg is stopped, back to Ramsey. He's guarded by Stallings. Ramsey gets underneath. Stalling knocked away. Ramsey goes after it. Good hustle. 3-point lead for the Boilermakers. Carter Scott will set it up. Goes down to Ramsey. The Boilermakers in a zone. Kellogg with 4 of the points on the board for the Buckeyes. Ramsey fires. Didn't get the roll. And it's pulled down by Carroll. It comes out to Edmondson. Edmondson goes over to Arnett Holman. Up. And it may be a charge. Offensive foul going to be called on the Boilermakers. Arnett Holman, number 1 on him.
Edmondson with the ball out to Holman, and I believe he might have given it to him a little bit too far out on the floor. Needed to come down a couple of more steps. Tough break for the Boilermakers as Holman picks up his first one, and it looks like that knee is going to hold up here through the first half, as Arnett has really been hustling, and he hasn't had any trouble as yet.
4 turnovers for Purdue, 3 for the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes trail by 3 on the scoreboard. We're nearing the halfway point. Here's Kellogg firing, scoring. Kellogg has 6, and that cuts the Purdue lead 13-12. We're now 9:55 away from the halftime break. Stallings to Edmondson. Here's Carroll going underneath. It goes into to Scares, who gets the basket, and the Boilermakers lead 15-12. Purdue by 3. Boilermakers have led by 9. State has never had the lead. Ramsey fires. Couldn't get it. Pulled off by Kellogg. Up, shot, rolls in. Kellogg has 8. And it is 15-14. The freshman out of Cleveland, who once got 51, in fact, in the championship game, in his high school championship game, did that. 9 minutes and 8 seconds to play in the half. Here's the alley-oop underneath. It's stolen away by Jim Smith. 5 turnovers for Purdue. The Buckeyes with a basket could get the lead for the first time. Kellogg brings it down, shoots from 15. Didn't get it. It's pulled off by Edmondson. Stolen away by Ramsey. Comes out front. Scott gives it off. Kellogg fires. No. Scares pulls the ball down. It is a battle. Purdue leads by 1. Encouragement from the sideline from head coach Lee Rose Edmondson with the ball. Comes out to Arnett Holman. Goes to Mike Scarce. Couldn't get the roll. Pulled off by Williams. Ramsey brings it down. Ramsey making his move. Ramsey up. And the foul. Let's see if the basket counts. Check it out. The basket counts. Ramsey's 4th point. The Buckeyes lead 16-15. And the foul was also called.
Great move by Ramsey as he made the good inside fake, came to the bucket. Stallings picked up the foul. It counts, and this crowd of 14,000 here in St. John Arena loves the action they're seeing on the court by their Ohio State Buckeyes, who have come from a 9-point deficit to take at least a 1-point lead and a chance to make that 2.
Ramsey, one of the best free throw shooters in the Big Ten, shooting 94%, 33 out of 35. Makes the free throw his 5th point of the night. And the Buckeyes have a 2-point spread now. They were down 9-0. So they've outscored the Boilermakers 17-6. Here's the ball stolen away again by Scott. Brings it down, lays it off to Kellogg. Up, jumping, shooting, scoring. Kellogg has 10, and the Boilermakers now trail 18-19 to 15. 7:52 to play. Farm Bureau Insurance and its 500 agents in the state of Indiana presenting the action tonight from St. John Arena. Edmondson fires it underneath. The ball knocked loose, retrieved, however, by Steve Walker. And we have a timeout call with 7:42 remaining to be played in the half. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Ohio State leads Purdue 19-15. Unofficially, the Boilermakers have thrown the ball away 5 times. The Ohio State Buckeyes have thrown it away 3. I might disagree with that stat we have up there. I think the Boilermakers may have thrown it away 6 times.
Well, the Boilermakers have had trouble with the turnover of late, and Ohio State now is getting a lot of shots from the field. They've taken 22 shots. The Boilermakers only getting 15 up to the goal. That's a 7-shot disadvantage for Purdue. They're down by 4. Ohio State shooting at just under 41%. The Boilermakers at 46%.
But they're leading by 9 early. The ball inbounds to Carroll. Carroll misses the shot. It's pulled off by Herb Williams. Carroll has scored 2 points here tonight. Boilermakers have been winning by a margin of 20.3. The Buckeyes have been winning by a margin of 18. This is Kellogg. And Steve Walker took it away from him. Steve and Bryan in there with Carroll, Hallman, and Edmondson.
Boilermakers in a man-to-man that time, getting away from the zone, as Ohio State had certainly solved that, looking for the tough man.
Here's the ball deflected away. Another turnover for Purdue. Bringing it down is Ramsey. He is on the floor, throws it back outside, and Williams with the ball. Back out to Ramsey. Ramsey will set it up. And here's a 3-second call or a foul. I'm not sure. It'll be a foul on Arnett Holman. The 2nd foul, and that is 6 against Purdue, 4 against the Buckeyes.
It's important for both of these basketball teams not to have a cold streak, as Ohio State did at the top, and as Purdue is having right now. They're in a cold spot, and that makes it tough. Number 23 back into the lineup is Mike Scarce, replacing Arnett Holman, who just picked up his 2nd foul. Holman has 4 points in the game. Scarce has 2.
So the ball will be out of bounds to the Buckeyes, and it'll be put in play by Clark Kellogg. He comes into Williams. Williams shoves it up, and in. Smith with 2 points. It's 21-15 in favor of the Buckeyes. A 6-point spread now. Biggest lead for Ohio State. The Boilermakers jumped off to a 9-point lead early. Scarce with the ball. Gives it off to Edmondson. Brian Walker. Lays it off to Mike Scarce. Now to Brian Walker. Buckeye fans thought there should have been a walking violation call. It goes to Carroll. He has only 2. Gives it to Walker. Shot is no good. Kept alive. Edmondson with the ball. Jumps, shoots, and scores. Edmondson has 6. So the Boilermakers stopped a 9-point run there by the Buckeyes. Purdue had led 15-12. It was 21-19 before that one by Purdue. 21-17, Ohio State. 6 minutes to play in the half. Here's a steal by Mike Scarce. Pass down to Edmondson. He stuffs it up. Edmondson gets the basket. He's got 8, and the Boilermakers trail only by 2 now. scoring 2 unanswered baskets. 5:48 to play in the half. Your host is Farm Bureau Insurance and its 500 agents of the state of Indiana. The game also being seen around the nation via cable. This is Kellogg, already has 10. Here's a foul going to be called. And the Buckeyes will be going to the free throw line. Carter Scott will be there. Brian Walker's first foul, the 7th on the team. Carter Scott will be up for 2. Buckeyes 1 out of 3 at the free throw line tonight. As a team, the Buckeyes are shooting 74% for the line.
Brian Walker just reaches inside. You saw him pull his arm away. He knew the contact was made, and the call was certainly made at that point. And the Buckeyes have gone red hot here against Purdue after a slow start. Ohio State showing their quickness with a good movement offense beneath the basket.
Number 45, Marquis Miller, checked into the lineup. Scott makes his third point. That makes it 22-19. Substitution. Drake Morris comes in to replace Keith Edmondson for the Boilermakers. Scott looking for his 4th point. The Buckeyes are 2 out of 4 at the free throw line, leading by 3 on the scoreboard. That makes them both. He's got 4 points. 23-19. 5.5 minutes remaining to be played in the half. Drake Morris with the ball. Hawked there by Carter Scott. Morris trying to get rid of it. Goes to Carroll. Double teamed. Gives it out there to Mike Scarce. Sticky Buckeye defense. Goes to Carroll. Jumps, shoots, puts it up and in. There's also a foul going to be called on the play. And the foul is on Williams, number 1 on him. It'll be number 5 on the team. Carroll's basket, only his 4th point of the night. That cuts the lead to 2, 23-21.
Ball inside to Carroll. This is a good spot for him. Comes around with a big turnaround jump shot, and when you can get the ball up above your head and you're 7-1, it's very difficult to defend against it, although already tonight there's been a couple of times that Herbie Williams has blocked the ball. Carroll misses. It's pulled off the board by Herb Williams. Carroll shoots 62% from the field, 61% from the free throw line. We have 5:05 left to play in the half. Buckeyes lead by 2. Number 45, Marquis Miller, who's a 6'4" junior out of Columbus, Ohio. This is Carter Scott out of Barberton, averaging 4 points on. Here's a throwaway. Morris comes up with the ball. Morris coming all the way down. Morris trying to get through the traffic. Lost the ball. Going the other way is Ramsey, and he threw it away. But it was hit last by Boilermakers, so it'll be out of bounds to the Buckeyes. Game can turn around in a hurry as 2 good steals made by both clubs, and the ball up and down the court in a big fast break style. Ramsey with the ball. Good hesitation. Didn't get it. It's pulled off by Brian Walker. He's through the traffic. Boilermakers could tie it here with a basket. It goes to Drake Morris. He has 1 point. This is Scarce to Joe Barry Carroll. Up, and it didn't get the roll. William Smith pulls it off at 6'8". 3rd leading rebounder for the Buckeyes at 5'6". Goes underneath to Williams. Up and in. Williams' 4th point. And the Buckeyes lead by 4, 25-21. A little more than 4 minutes to play in the half. Lots of action in this. The second Big Ten battle for both these teams. Carroll up. No. Foul. Williams, number 2 on Herb. At 6 fouls against the Buckeyes. Williams and Carroll going at it underneath the basket. Joe Barry really using the hook shot here tonight as number 35 comes back into the lineup for Purdue. Ted Benson, the freshman from Atlanta, at 6'10". Mike Scarce will go to the bench. And the 2 big men beneath the basket really have not been the story here tonight. It's been Clark Kellogg with 10 points already. And Ramsey has 5. He's done a fine job. Edmondson is high man with 8 for the Boilermakers. Carroll will have 2 tries. Boilermakers trail by 4. Carroll's 5th point of the night cuts it to 25-22. Purdue is 2 out of 4 at the free throw line. The Buckeyes are 3 out of 5. Exactly 4 minutes left to play in the first half. Joe Barry Carroll trying to improve on his 61% free throw shooting, and does. He's got 6. And the Boilermakers cut it 25-23. Ramsey with the ball comes over here to Marquis Miller. This is Miller. Gives the ball to Scott. And it was hit last by
Ramsey, and it'll be out of bounds on the 7th turnover as we have a timeout with 3:42 remaining to be played in the half. You are watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue trails Ohio State 25-23.
Turned out to be a real battle between two Big Ten powerful basketball teams here tonight. Everyone thought it would be Herbie Williams and Joe Barry Carroll. The big gun thus far for Ohio State has been Clark Kellogg, doing a fantastic job shooting from about the 15-foot mark. Keith Edmondson has been the gun for the Boilermakers with 8 points. Most of his have come in tight as well. And Joe Barry Carroll just now starting to get active with the hook shot.
Leading scorer for the Boilermakers tonight is Keith Edmondson. The leader, as Bob said, for the Buckeyes is Clark Kellogg. Purdue leads in rebounding 14-11 unofficially here in the first half. Ohio State leads on the scoreboard by 2, 25-23. The ball will belong to the Boilermakers in the Purdue backcourt when play resumes.
Things have turned around shooting percentage-wise. The Boilermakers at 41% right now, 10 of 22. For Ohio State, 11 of 26. They're at 42%. Very even, as the score indicates, only 2 points difference, even though Purdue got out to a hot start.
Purdue could tie it with a basket here as Brian Walker brings it down, working with Steve Walker and Drake Morris and Benson and Carroll. Here's Brian Walker with the ball, comes out to Drake Morris, and the ball is knocked away by the Buckeyes, hit last by Herb Williams. It'll be out of bounds to Purdue.
Ohio State in that 1-3-1 zone defense, and it's very tough to go right with Herbie Williams at about 6'11" with very long arms and great quickness out at that one wing. Makes it very difficult to go to the right-hand side.
Morris facing the 1-3-1, goes to Ted Benson, the freshman out of Atlanta, brings it back out to Brian Walker, the junior out of Lebanon. The alley-oop to Carroll. What a play! And there's also a foul going to be called on Marcus Miller as the game is tied by Carroll. He's got 8 points, and the game is knotted at 25. That's the 7th foul called on the Buckeyes.
Unbelievable shot here by Carroll. He couldn't get exactly in the right position, but he went backhanded with it. There you saw Marcus Miller with a little contact against Carroll, picked up the foul, and Joe Barry has a chance to give Purdue the lead, and they haven't had that in quite a while.
Carroll is 2 out of 3 at the free throw line tonight, shoots only 61% on the year. Senior from Denver fires it up, and the Boilermakers lead on the 9th point of the night by Joe Barry Carroll, 26-25. Purdue is 4 out of 6 at the free throw line. We have a little more than 3 minutes to play in the first half of tonight's game. Purdue plays at home on Thursday against Illinois, against Michigan next Saturday at 4 Eastern time. We'll have that one for you on many of these stations. Larry Huggins, who checked in, goes up, misses, and the ball is off the board and in by Jim Smith. He's got 4, and the Buckeyes lead 27-26. Larry Huggins, 6'3" freshman, number 20 out of Fort Washington, Ohio. Out there on the court for the Buckeyes, leading 27-26. Brian Walker, alley-oop again to Carroll, and he's fouled. Williams is guilty of his 3rd, and the 8th on the Buckeyes. Lee Rose appreciates the call.
Joe Barry working inside now against Smith. They moved number 32, Herb Williams, to the other side of the court on the zone and also on the man-to-man to keep him away from Carroll to try to prevent that 3rd foul. They got Joe Barry going back door to the basket with a good pass from Walker, and Williams tried to help out, committed the foul, and he's in trouble. 1 in bonus for Carroll. He ties the game at 27. That's 10 points for Carroll. Ellinghausen checks in now for the Buckeyes. Jim Ellinghausen, number 41, out of Plymouth, Michigan. Shoots 60% from the field, averages 4.8. Carroll looks now for the bonus. The Boilermakers are 5 out of 7 here at the free throw line. Carroll is 5 out of 6. So the Boilermakers now take a 28-27 lead with 2:27 remaining in the first half. Ramsey makes his move to the right. It goes to Ellinghausen. Back out front. Huggins fires, and it rolls out. Loose ball. It's Purdue's ball. Brian Walker takes it off. Huggins will never get one closer than that one, Bob. Went around a lot of times. The crowd was on edge with that one.
Here is Carroll. No. Loose ball. Ramsey comes up with it. Buckeyes could take the lead again. Here's Ramsey. Great move. See if the basket counts. It will count. It will count. Ramsey's basket is his 7th. That's 29-28. Buckeyes. Also a foul on the play. Marked against Steve Walker. Number 1 on him. 8 on the Boilermakers, 8 against also the Buckeyes.
An interesting score in from East Lansing. Minnesota 40, Michigan State 15, and it could be that Michigan State is suffering from that loss to the Boilermakers, a heartbreaker by 1 on Thursday.
Ramsey misses. It's cleared by Carroll. Now the Boilermakers could go up with a basket here, trailing 29-28, a minute 51 remaining in the half. Brian Walker goes to Drake Morris, and a foul is going to be called. I believe it'll be on number 20. Larry Huggins, number 1 on him, number 9 on the Buckeyes, and a free throw will be forthcoming for the Boilermakers. Keith Edmondson was going to check in, but he's replacing Steve Walker, and we're going to have to shoot the free throw before he leaves. Boilermakers are 6 out of 8 at the free throw line. Walker at the line, shooting only 58% of the year, 7 out of 12. Purdue trails by 1, 1:46 remaining in the half.
It was just a couple of moments ago that we said that Williams and Joe Barry Carroll weren't doing much beneath the basket. Carroll has come up with a bunch of points since then, and Williams is very active rebounding.
And the ball goes off the fingertips of Marquis Miller, and Edmondson is in, and Steve Walker is out. Boilermakers are 6 out of 9 at the free throw line. The Buckeyes, I have them with 3 out of 6. Comes way out to Drake Morris. A minute 42 left to play in the first half. Purdue jumped off to a 9-0 lead. Then the Buckeyes came back to go up by 6, 21-15. Ryan Walker throws it inside, and it bounced off a Buckeye. It'll be out of bounds to Purdue. Mike Scarce is going to come in. Mike Scarce is checking into the lineup for the Boilermakers, and Benson goes out. 1:32 remaining in the half. Purdue trails by 1. It comes into Carroll. Now to Brian Walker. He jumps, he shoots, wouldn't stay in. The ball is loose, pulled off by Ellinghausen. Averages about 3.3 rebounds a game. Ramsey brings it down. The Buckeyes lead by 1. We have a minute and 18 to play in the half. Ramsey all the way down, throws the ball away. That's 8 turnovers for the Buckeyes. Purdue has 7 unofficially.
Tremendous move by Ramsey. He couldn't hold on to the basketball, but he is very, very quick going to the basket. We'll get a look at it. He splits a couple of players, a little contact between he and number 23.
Back to live action. Brian Walker sends it to Drake Morris in the corner, comes out to Scarce, goes under to Edmondson. Edmondson tries to make and walks. 8 turnovers for the Boilermakers, 8 unofficially for the Buckeyes, as Eldon Miller in his 4th year had a team of 19-12 last year, 12-6 in the Big Ten. That was good for 4th place. Remember, there were 3 that tied for the top spot: Purdue, Michigan State, and Iowa. Here is a shot missed by Smith. It'll be out of bounds. It belongs to Purdue with 46 seconds left in the half.
I think Purdue may hold on to the basketball here and go for that final shot, go in either down 1 or up 1. If they could go in up 1 here at Ohio State, that'd be a tremendous boost for the second half.
29-28 Ohio State. Mike Scarce gets the ball. 35 seconds remaining in the half. Drake Morris goes to Joe Barry Carroll. He has 11 points. Carroll with 27 puts it up in. Carroll has 13, and the Boilermakers lead 30-29. There are 20 seconds remaining, and Eldon Miller, the head coach of the Buckeyes, called for 1 shot. 15 seconds, 14. Here is a shot by Marquis Miller. No. Loose ball. Scarce gets the ball. 7. Scarce brings it down with 5. And a double dribble gives the ball to Ohio State. 9 turnovers. There are 5 seconds left.
Tough break for Mike Scarce that time. He took a look at the clock. When he did, the ball came up off the floor a little funny. Got it caught on his knee. Committed the turnover, but good thought by Mike as he was trying to find out how much time was left on the clock and looking for a Boilermaker. Just got the ball caught in the wrong spot.
Marquis Miller will put the ball in play. Comes in to Ramsey with 3, with 2, with 1. He gets it away. It counts. No basket, says the official. No basket. No basket, says the official, and the Boilermakers will have a 30-29. That one was a close one, but the official waved it off. And I'm not sure the crowd really reacts, but no basket. So it is at halftime. That's the end of the first half, with the Boilermakers leading Ohio State 30-29. We'll check the individual scoring in just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the King Valley.
One fine half of basketball as Purdue leads at 30-29. A last-second shot by Kelvin Ramsey that hit nothing but the bottom was called off by Eric Harmon. The Big Ten official here tonight working in the crew said it was no good, did not get it off quickly enough, so the Boilermaker lead holds on at 30-29 after Purdue got off to a hot start leading 9-0. Ohio State came back, had the lead for much of the half. Purdue got it back late in the half on the great play of Joe Barry Carroll.
After a slow start, Joe Barry Carroll has come up as the leading scorer here for both these teams at the end of the first half. Joe Barry Carroll has put in 13 points. He has hit his last 2, 4, 5 free throws, so Joe Barry at 5 of 6 at the free throw line tonight. He has 4 field goals. He leads everybody with 13 points. Other scoring for the Boilermakers, Keith Edmondson has had a good first half. He's well on his way to his average of 12.8. He has 4 field goals for a total of 8 points. Other scoring for the Boilermakers, Arnett Holman, who scored the first basket of tonight's game. As you know, Arnett has missed the last 2 outings, but has done very well playing on the injured leg. He has 2 baskets here for 4 points tonight. Drake Morris is 1 out of 2 at the free throw line for 1 point. Kevin Stallings off the bench for a field goal for 2. Mike Scarce has a field goal for 2. And Steve Walker went to the free throw line but was unable to score. On the other side, the big gun for the Ohio State Buckeyes has been their outstanding freshman, the 6'8 freshman out of Cleveland, Ohio, Clark Kellogg. He has a total of 10 points. All of those have come from the field. Herb Williams has 2 field goals for 4 points. Jim Smith has 2 field goals for 4. He missed his 2 free throw opportunities. Carter Scott has 4 points, a field goal, and 2 out of 2 at the free throw line. And Kelvin Ramsey, who had the final basket of the first half wiped away when the official said he did not get rid of it before the buzzer. He wound up with 7 points. He had 3 field goals, and Ramsey was 1 out of 2 at the free throw line. The only man in foul trouble here for either team is Herb Williams, the center for the Buckeyes, and Herb has 3 fouls. The Boilermakers jumped off to a 9-0 lead in this game, and the Ohio State Buckeyes went better than 4 minutes before they were able to get on the scoreboard, but they regrouped and then were able to go ahead of the Boilermakers 21-15 and led near the end of the first half before the Boilermakers got a basket to lead here at halftime by a point. Tonight's game between Purdue other stats to show you how even these 2 teams are. In the first half, the Buckeyes were whistled for 9 fouls. The Boilermakers were whistled for 8. I have them about even in turnovers. I have the Boilermakers unofficially with 9, the Buckeyes with 8. Purdue leads Ohio State 30-29.
48%, 6 of 9 from the free throw line. 67%. They have a total of 12 rebounds. Ohio State, on the other hand, shooting 13 of 30 from the field, 43.3%, 3 of 5 from the free throw line, 60%. They had 7 more rebounds than did the Boilermakers at 19. The leading rebounder for Ohio State was Smith with 6. Williams had 3. For the Boilermaker, Carroll, Brian Walker, Drake Morris, and Mike Scarce had 2 rebounds apiece. Looking at the assists, 7 for Purdue. Ohio State had 6 turnovers, officially 10 for Purdue, 9 for Ohio State, 4 block shots for Ohio State to none for Purdue, 5 steals for Purdue and 4 to Ohio State, and that's about as even as you can get unless the score is tied at halftime.
And it is not. Purdue leads by 1, 30-29. The Boilermakers will be back in action on Thursday. They have a busy weekend coming up. They'll be at home against Illinois on Thursday, at home to Michigan on Saturday afternoon, and we'll be televising that one for you on many of these same Farm Bureau Insurance Network stations. And then they'll play Syracuse a week from tomorrow on Sunday afternoon. Syracuse, of course, is ranked number 10 in the country. Now stay tuned for second half action. We'll be ready for the tip-off in just a moment. At halftime. Back at St. John Arena in Columbus, Ohio, another capacity crowd watching this one, and it's a great basketball game. By the way, the Purdue football team, which won the Bluebonnet Bowl from Tennessee in a great game, sent a telegram over here to Lee Rose and the Boilermakers basketball team tonight. Speaking of Purdue football, I ran into Bob and Virginia Thompson out of Naples, Florida, down in Houston. They've been watching some of the Purdue games on cable down there, or watching tonight. Their daughter here, Mrs. Paul Jensen, is among the 14,000 fans or so here at St. John. We're delighted to have people from around the United States watching, as well as our Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network in the state of Indiana.
They certainly couldn't have picked a better basketball game to see, as these 2 teams are going at it tooth and nail on the court. everybody giving 100%, and I have to take my hat off to Arnett Hallman, who in the first half, after not practicing for over 15 days, as he's back on the floor for the start of the second half, was able to come out and play as hard and as long as he did. That's a tribute to a great athlete and someone who is really dedicated to the game and dedicated to his university. And my hat goes off to Arnett. And Ohio State, you have to look at them and say they played super basketball after getting off to a slow start to get back into the game and to lead through most of the middle portion of the second half before Purdue, on the shoulders of Joe Barry Carroll, were able to get back into the ball game and take a lead going into halftime.
Herb Williams at 6'10", jumping against Joe Barry Carroll at 7'1". Williams, number 32, out of Columbus, shoots 50% from the field. He's the team's leading scorer with 16, though he has been held to 4 points here tonight. The Boilermakers lead by 1. Second half's underway. Arnett Hallman gets the ball. Arnett scored the first basket of tonight's game, sent the Boilermakers off to a 9-0 lead before the Buckeyes got on the board with more than 4:10 elapsed. Carroll looking for his 15th point, puts it up, knocked away. Hallman got the ball. Carroll wound up on the floor. It goes underneath and up. Morris goes for it and missed it, but there's a foul, and the foul is on Jimmy Smith. Number 2 on Jim. First foul marked against the Buckeyes and against either team here in the second period. 8 fouls against Purdue in the first half, 9 against the Buckeyes.
Smith and Williams both have done a good job against Joe Barry Carroll, picking up a lot of block shots. That's the third one that Joe Barry has had rejected, as Smith and Williams, both with the long arms, playing great defense.
Boilermakers are 6 out of 10 at the free throw line. Drake Morris is 1 out of 3. That's the only point that Drake has on the scoreboard. Boilermakers lead by 2 as Drake Morris gets his second point of the night. 31-29, just underway with the second period. Boilermakers in a zone. A 2-3. Number 15 is Scott, goes to Ramsey. He had 7. One of them didn't count, or he would have had 9. It was at the buzzer. Waved it off. Here's a steal by Brian Walker. Comes down to Drake Morris. No, and it is pulled off by Carter Scott. Crowd thought he walked. Here's a pass down to Williams. Jump shot is no. Edmondson couldn't hold it, but Brian Walker gets the ball. A lot of action here in the first minute of the second half. Purdue scored the only point in this minute, and it's rugged out there. These two teams split last year. Here's Carroll's shots, no. Pulled off the board. Williams takes it. Ramsey has to come back and get it. The Buckeyes won here last year, 75-71. Purdue won at Mackey Arena, 74-66. Ramsey with the ball. Ramsey puts it up. It didn't stay in. Carroll pulls it off. Here's Drake Morris coming down, going for the basket, and he's fouled, and the foul is going to be on Clark Kellogg, his third, and the second on the Buckeyes here in the second stanza. We played 1 minute and 26 seconds as Eldon Miller, in his 4th year here, and saw his team win 19 and lose 12 last season. The previous year, 16-11, 9-18 in his first year.
As the first half started, Purdue is leading in the shots taken 4-1 over Ohio State, as they've been able to force some offensive mistakes by OSU, but they haven't been able to connect on any fielders themselves, as they haven't been able to hit any. Drake Morris, the only one scoring here. That's his second point on free throws.
And he got them both. He's got 4 points in the night. The Boilermakers lead now 33-29. The Boilermakers have now hit 9 of 13 at the line. The Buckeyes are 3 of 6. And a timeout has been called with 18:30 to play in tonight's game. You're watching Purdue basketball in the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue leads Ohio State 33-29. We're back in St. John Arena in Columbus, Ohio, where a capacity crowd is watching Purdue lead Ohio State 33-29. The Boilermakers began the second half up by 1. Purdue has scored 5 unanswered points. Joe Barry Carroll leads everybody in scoring with 13. Halfway to his average, he now has scored in 51 consecutive games in double figures. Kelvin Ramsey, by the way, has scored in 72 consecutive games. He has 7 here tonight. That's in double figures. Here's Kellogg feeding underneath, and Carroll rejects it. Ramsey gets it, fires and scores. He's got 9. It's 33-31. Great rejection by Carroll, but it went right back to Kelvin Ramsey. Ramsey's had some great games against Purdue, including a 33-point effort last year. In his last 4 games against Purdue, Kelvin has scored 99 points for an average of 24-7, but they've done the job here tonight. Brian Walker pumps it in. His first basket of the night gives the Boilermakers a 35-31 lead. We are 2 minutes and 8 seconds deep into the second half. In this, a Big Ten conference game. Purdue and Ohio State won opening victories on Thursday, each scoring a 1-point margin. Ramsey with the ball with 9 points. He scored the only 2 for the Buckeyes in this stanza. It goes to Smith, lays it off to Kellogg. Kellogg with the ball, comes out to Ramsey. The Boilermakers in the zone, keeping the Buckeyes outside. Carter Scott had it knocked away from him. Hit last by Edmondson. It'll be out of bounds to the Buckeyes.
Ohio State standing around on offense as some of the crowd gets a little upset about it. The Purdue zone seems to have them baffled at the moment.
It comes inside there to Williams. The shot is missed. It's pulled off the board there by Arnett Hallman. Saves it, needs help, gets it from Carroll. Morris will lay it off to Brian Walker. Purdue leads by 4. 17-13 to play in tonight's game. Brian Walker goes to Arnett Hallman. Up, and there's a foul going to be called, and Hallman goes spilling on the floor down here. Foul, and it'll be a non-shooting foul. I believe it'll be on Williams.
Great fake inside by Arnett Hallman as he gets Williams way up in the air. There you see a lot of contact between Carter Scott and Williams, and Arnett Hallman, and Williams did pick it up, and that's number 4 on him by my count, Joe.
That's what I have too, unofficially.
He's in trouble.
So the ball will be out of bounds to Purdue. Nearly 3 minutes gone to the second half. Purdue leads by 4. It comes to Keith Edmondson. He has 8. His first basket in the second half gives the Boilermakers a 37-31 lead. So the Boilermakers now have outscored the Buckeyes 9-2, considering the last basket of the first half. Ramsey with the ball, comes back outside to Kellogg. He got 10 early. He's been cut off recently. It comes inside. Williams has to go outside to Ramsey. Carter Scott has 4 all early. Purdue leads by 6. We have a official timeout called by Foudy.
We're having a warning between the 2 players there. Joe Barry Carroll and Herb Williams, who are really battling beneath the basket. There's no hard feelings between the 2 of them. Charlie Foudy just felt that he should warn them and say, settle down, play basketball, quit holding and shoving. He could have called a double foul. Had he done that, that would have been all for Williams.
So the ball will be out of bounds to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Kellogg sends it in play to Kelvin Ramsey. Now to Scott. Back out to Kellogg. Goes inside to Smith. Up. No. But a foul is going to be called. And I think it'll be Arnett Hallman. Well, they give him the basket. Arnett Hallman is also guilty of the foul. And look at it again, Bob.
Power basketball by Ohio State, and Jim Smith, he's a strong forward. Good inside move. He's up, slams it home. You're going to see some contact with the body there between Hallman and Smith. Good call by the official. A chance for a 3-point play.
And with 16:21 left to play in the game, a 4-point spread for Purdue. Number 41, Jim Ellenhousing out of Plymouth, Michigan, is on. Shot is missed, and Morris comes off with the ball, and Edmondson gets it. Edmondson through the traffic, lets it move by him now. Brian Walker will set it up. Collision away from the ball with Walker and Ramsey. No foul. Here's a play to Carroll, double teamed, and it's taken away by Ramsey. 4 minutes gone by in the half, in the game, second half. Purdue by 4. Kellogg lost it. Carroll gets the ball. 11 turnovers for the Ohio State Buckeyes. 11 for Purdue. Brian Walker on the dribble. Goes to Drake Morris, under to Edmondson. Spins, tries to put it up. He walks. 12 turnovers. Gives the ball to the Ohio State Buckeyes.
2 times Ohio State has been able to double team the ball beneath the Purdue basket, and Purdue has come away with nothing, as Ohio State going strong with that man-to-man defense.
Here come the Buckeyes. Goes down to Kellogg. Kellogg jumps and shoots. It's short. Loose underneath. Ellenhausen puts it up, and it's good. His first basket of the night cuts the lead 37-35. Buckeyes have scored 4 unanswered points. Drake Morris with the ball. Sends it down to Carroll. Shoots up. He's fouled. Jim Smith, 3rd, and the 4th on the team. So we'll be going to the free throw line with the Boilermakers. Ramsey goes to the sideline to say something to head coach Eldon Miller.
Purdue going inside now to Joe Barry Carroll with Herb Williams on the bench. A little contact between Carroll and Smith. The foul was called. Smith with 3, and Williams already on the bench with 4. If Smith picks up another one quick, Ohio State's going to have some depth problems.
We've played 4:45 in the second half. That's the first point of the second half by Carroll. He's got 14, and the Boilermakers lead 38-35. Purdue is 10 out of 14 at the line. Carroll looks for his 15th point. Didn't get it. Pulled off the board by Carter Scott. Scott all the way down. Stops at the 15-foot mark. Brian Walker knocked it away. Brian going for the layup. Missed it, but Drake Morris is the follow-through. Morris has 6 points, and the Boilermakers lead by 5, 40-35.
Big lesson to be learned there by young players to follow the ball down. It looked like Walker had an easy one. Carter Scott with a burst of speed bothered him, but number 33 Morris was there to get the bucket.
And so we have a timeout with 14:49 to play in the game. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue leads Ohio State 40-35. The series between these two schools stands at this. Purdue has won 54 times. Ohio State has won 50. Last season here at OSU, Ohio State won the game by 4. At Purdue, the Boilermakers won it by 8.
Shooting percentages for Purdue, 37% on 3 of 8 here in the second half of play. 3 of 6, 50% for Ohio State.
Ohio State's basketball. Scott with it. Goes into Ellinghausen. He throws it away. 13th turnover. Drake Morris comes down, gives it to Keith Edmondson. Up and in. Edmondson's basket is 12th of the night. The Boilermakers lead by 7, 42-35. 14.5 minutes remaining in the game. Eldon Miller is 2-6 against Purdue. Rose is 1-1 against him. Here is Brian Walker knocking it away. He really could have stolen the ball.
Purdue has come up with a good solid defense here the last couple of minutes. When Williams went out, Ohio State got hot quickly, but then the Boilermakers have cooled them off with that tough 2-3 zone.
Kellogg with the ball comes outside to Larry Huggins, who checked in during the timeout. Goes over to Carter Scott, driving the baseline, stops, sends it back outside. Huggins fires, scores. Huggins' first field goal. It's 42-37. The Boilermakers had scored 4 unanswered field goals. Huggins, who's out of Port Washington, Ohio. Here's Carroll. Up. No. Loose ball. Arnett Holman gets it. He's fouled by Huggins. His second foul and the 5th on the team. No question about that one. A reach-around foul by Larry Huggins as he went for the loose ball.
Holman did a good job coming from the weak side to get in there and keep the ball alive. Picked it up off the floor as the foul was committed. There's a halftime, 12 minutes remaining in the ball game. Michigan State trailing by 20 from Minnesota, 55-35, and that one's in East Lansing.
We have a checking of Arnett Holman. I think he got hit in the nose on that particular play. Is asking for a towel. Coach Lee Rose alertly saw that and called it to the attention of referee Charlie Foudy. It'll be out of bounds. Brian Walker will put it in play for the Boilermakers, who lead by 5. We have 13:44 to play. The ball inbounds to Arnett Holman. Over to Edmondson. Edmondson has 12. His average is 13.8. 12.8. Brian Walker sets it up, directs a little traffic there. Purdue by 5. The Boilermakers led by as many as 9, trailed by as many as 6. Drake Morris comes outside. Here's the alley-oop. Carroll couldn't get it, but it's back to Arnett Holman. He'll set it back outside. Players all over the floor. Arnett Holman lays it to Edmondson. Edmondson goes to Drake Morris underneath, scores, and there's also a foul called on Carter Scott, his second, the 6th on the team, and Morris has his 8th point of the night. The Boilermakers lead by 7, 44-37.
Eldon Miller cannot believe it. His Ohio State Buckeyes having all kinds of trouble here in the mid-portion of the half, as Purdue doing a good job getting the ball inside. Edmondson making a great pass to Morris, and talking about Carter Scott, who was in good defensive position. Morris just made a good move to get around him and was tripped up by Scott. No fault of his, just a good offensive move.
Arnett Holman is playing a great game for the Boilermakers despite the injury. Drake Morris at the line. He is 2-4 out of 6 at the line.
You got to look at Calvin Ramsey along with Herb Williams on the bench with Eldon Miller. And Ramsey, I believe, has a cramp in his right calf. I noticed he was rubbing it on the bench during the timeout, and I think he may have a bit of an injury.
Boilermakers lead now by 8, and Drake Morris has 9 points. Purdue is 11 out of 16 at the free throw line. Here's Huggins with the ball. Finally gets rid of it to Kellogg. Kellogg makes his move inside. Almost lost it. Takes the shot. It's short. Kept alive underneath there. Morris stole away the ball. Morris with the ball. 12:48 left to play in tonight's game. The Boilermakers lead by 8. They led 9-0 at the start of the game, then trailed by a score of 21-15. Two number 20s against each other. Brian Walker for the Boilermakers and Larry Huggins for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we have a foul down here. Keith Edmondson is guilty of his second foul away from the ball. That's only the second foul against Purdue in this stanza. Offensive foul gives the ball to the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we have a timeout with 12:34 to play in tonight's game. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue leads Ohio State 45-37.
This must be.
Two outstanding coaches working in this one. Lee Rose for the Boilermakers in 13 years as a head coach has won 267 and lost 84. Eldon Miller in his 18th year as a head coach has won 280, lost only 165.
One of the reasons this Big Ten is so good, Joe, not only are the players good, but the coaching staffs are good, and that goes from the very top team in the league to the very bottom team in the league. They're all good, excellent coaches with a lot of outstanding players.
So the Boilermakers have outscored the Buckeyes in the second half 15-8, leading now 45-37. Williams is back into the lineup playing with 4 fouls. Herb Williams, that's Herb jumping, shooting, and scoring. A great basket. He's got 6, his first basket in the second half. It's 45-39. They've done a real job on Williams. His average is 16, high on the squad. Now a double dribble is going to be called on Drake Morris. 14th turnover for Purdue. I was saying Herb Williams is the leading scorer for the Buckeyes with 16-point average. He's been held to 6 here tonight. We have a little more than 12 minutes to play in the game. The ball comes inbounds to Carter Scott. Ramsey is still over on the bench over there. Morris almost stole the ball away, but it'll go off his hands and out of bounds. Put in play by the Buckeyes.
It's been a good series between these two. Drake Morris, number 33. Clark Kellogg, number 33. He dribbles the ball. I didn't see a double dribble.
Here's Williams, 2 in a row for Herb Williams. He's got 8, and it is now 45-41. 2 unanswered field goals by Herb Williams, and they haven't been easy. Drake Morris with the ball. Drake driving down on Kellogg. Uses up the dribble, comes to Arnett Holman. Brian Walker will set it up for Purdue. He's working against Larry Huggins. Here's a pass to Carroll. Carroll up underneath. He walked. No, offensive foul. Offensive foul on Carroll. His second and the third on the team. So that'll give the ball out of bounds to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Timeout has been called with 11:29 to play in the game. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue leads Ohio State 45-41. Boilermakers won by 1 at Michigan State, and Ohio State defeated Indiana here by 1.
65-50, Minnesota over Michigan State. 8:40 remaining in that one.
By 1.
65-50, Minnesota over Michigan State. 8:40 remaining in that one in East Lansing. As Kelvin Ramsey, number 14, comes back into the lineup, replacing number 20. That was Huggins. Huggins leaves the game with 2 points, and I think that was a strategical move by Eldon Miller as he wanted to get a little crowd support when Ramsey came back into the contest.
So the ball will be out of bounds on side court to the Buckeyes. Kelvin Ramsey and Carter Scott now working at guard, and they were the starters. In fact, the starting lineup in there now with Jim Smith, Herb Williams, and Clark Kellogg for the Buckeyes. Scott with the ball. He scored 4 points, nothing in the second stanza. Ramsey has 9. He has scored in double figures in 72 consecutive games. He had the ball knocked away that time. Purdue by 4 with 11:15 to play. Buckeyes ball. Jim Smith Kellogg will throw it in. And it is stolen by Keith Edmondson, and then he lost the ball to Ramsey. Guarded by Brian Walker. The Boilermakers in a man-to-man situation at the moment. We are now 9 minutes deep into the second half. Here is a shot and missed, but Edmondson is guilty of a foul. Carter Scott went up there. Edmondson guilty of his third foul, the fourth called on the team in this stanza, and Scott will be at the free throw line, an outstanding free throw shooter, shooting 89% on the year. This is the 8th time that the Buckeyes will have gone to the free throw line tonight.
No doubt about that one, as Scott goes to the floor after Edmondson hit him. Edmondson normally guards Ramsey, and he's held him to only 2 points here in the second half, doing a good job. Carter Scott, a much better jumper than is Ramsey, so when he got off the floor that time, Edmondson made the contact.
5 points for Scott. 45-42 substitution. Mike Scarce is coming into the lineup for the Boilermakers. Scarce is in, and Arnett Holman is out. Holman got a basket early, scored 4 points in the first half, playing with the wrapped up knee there. He's done an outstanding job considering the difficulties he has had. Scott 3 out of 3 at the line tonight, shoots 89% on the year, made them both, got 6 points. And the game is close at 45-43. Boilermakers need a basket this time down. They were leading 45-37. The Buckeyes have scored 6 unanswered points. Brian Walker with the ball, working against Ramsey. Here's Drake Morris, comes out to Mike Scarce. Mike goes to Carroll, in underneath, puts it up and in. Or did it go in? Foul is going to be called on Smith. That's 4 on him and 7 on the team. No indication if they give him the basket or not. I'm not sure it went in or rolled across there. Well, it'll be a 2-shot violation. Look at it that one again.
It's going to be an interesting look here as Carroll goes strong to the basket. Here comes Smith. Watch the basket be knocked around there by Smith. Should have been goaltending from my standpoint. The officials didn't think so, and that's the way it'll stand as Joe Barry Carroll has a chance for 2.
6 out of 8 at the line for Carroll. The Boilermakers need every free throw they can get right now. Carroll couldn't get that one to fall. The Boilermakers are 11 out of 17 at the line. Carroll has 14 points. His average is 26. That's the best in the Big Ten. 10:41 remaining in tonight's game. 15 for Carroll. And the Boilermakers lead 46-43. Purdue is 12 out of 18 at the line. The Buckeyes are 5 out of 9. Boilermakers in a 3-2 zone. Buckeyes come down. Ramsey with the ball. He has 9 points. His average is 15-2, second high on the squad. Kellogg has 10 points. All of those were in the first half and early. Turnaround jumper is short. Boilermakers get the ball. Edmondson brings it down. Edmondson lets the traffic move by. He throws it away. Kellogg brings it back. And the ball is kicked away by the Buckeyes. Saved by Purdue. Great action.
Edmondson caught that one right in the nose before Scarce picked it up. I'm surprised he didn't go to the floor. He really took a shot.
9:57 remaining in tonight's game. Mike Scarce with the ball, comes out to Drake Morris, to Brian Walker. Carroll hooks, no. Kellogg off the board. Kellogg rebounds at 6.7, second high on the squad this year. Ramsey will set it up. Purdue leads by 3. 9:30 left to play in the game. Each team with an overall record of 8-1, 1-0 in conference play. Scott missed it. Underneath, loose ball. Smith got the ball, and Carroll fouled for the 3rd time. And the 5th on the squad. 7 fouls against the Buckeyes in this period. Steve Walker comes into the lineup for Purdue. At the line will be Smith. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Coach Lee Rose makes the substitution. Edmondson comes out.
With 9 minutes and 24 seconds left, each one of these offensive rebounds that Ohio State is able to get, very, very important. They seem to always get something good off of them. That time a foul was committed, and Kellogg will be at the free throw line. He shoots 77% from there.
Thought it was Jim Smith going up there, 33 rather than 23. Kellogg has been to the line. Well, this is his first time. He scored 10 points all in the first half. Kellogg gets this one. 11 points for him. 46-44. Buckeyes are 6 out of 11 at the line. Purdue is 12 out of 18. Purdue leads by 2. We have a little more than 9 minutes to play in the game. Brian Walker working against Ramsey. Goes down to Steve Walker. Drake Morris couldn't hold the ball. Knocked away by the Buckeyes. It belongs to Purdue. Joe Barry Carroll with 15 points here tonight. Brian Walker sets it up. Goes to Scarce. No. Pulled down by Kellogg. And a foul on Carroll. He's got 4. That's 6 on the team, 4 on Joe Barry Carroll. So we have 3 players now with 4 fouls. Carroll, who got this one here, Jim Smith, and Herb Williams. And Benson is in to replace Carroll. And the Buckeyes will have the ball out of bounds. Or will it be a shooting violation? It'll be out of bounds. 8:57 remaining in tonight's game. Purdue leads by 2, so the Buckeyes could tie it on a basket right here.
Certainly the next 3 or 4 minutes going to be very important for Purdue, as Ted Benson, only a freshman, into the lineup in Big Ten play, and he has some big shoes to fill with Joe Barry Carroll on the bench. If Purdue can remain in the contest, remain close, or keep a lead during this period, they should be in pretty good shape going down to the wire.
Boilermakers are in a zone. Kellogg with the ball. Comes over to Scott. Lays it over. Williams gets his 10th point, and the game is tied at 46. Boilermakers were up 45-37. Not to Steve Walker. He almost had it knocked away by Ramsey. Goes over to Drake Morris. Brian Walker with the ball, and the Boilermakers look a little disorganized.
Ohio State putting on a real strong man-to-man defense here, and the crowd really hooping it up.
Mike Scarce gets underneath, and he's also fouled by Carter Scott, his 3rd, and the Boilermakers lead by 2. 8th foul called against the Buckeyes in this half. Nice move by Mike Scarce, gets his 1st basket of the 2nd half.
That's the 2nd time Scott's been caught on that move by a Boilermaker going the back door behind him. Scott tries to recover with his quickness, but he just bumps Scarce enough to knock him off balance, and Mike put the ball in the hoop and gets a chance for a 3rd one.
He's missed only 1 free throw in 12 attempts this year. Trying to give the Boilermakers a 3-point lead. He missed it, but it's back out to him, and he gets the ball. Boilermakers are 12 out of 19 at the line. The Buckeyes are 6 out of 11 unofficially. 8 minutes to play on this one. Purdue with Joe Barry Carroll with 15 points on the sidelines with 4 fouls. Buckeyes have 2 men with 4. They're both in there. Here's Scarce with the ball. Wanted to shoot and can hit. This is Benson. He walked. 17 turnovers for Purdue, 15 for the Buckeyes. The ball belongs to Ohio State on the baseline. Here's the travel situation as the ball comes in to Benson. Benson trying to move on Williams and shuffled his feet. Ball is brought up here by Scott. Scott all the way down. Scott stops. Scott puts it up. Scott scores. He's got 8. And the game is tied at 48. 7:30 to play in the game. Purdue brings it down. Drake Morris on the dribble, working against Clark Kellogg. Comes out here to Steve Walker. Goes to Scarce. He can hit from there. Didn't get that one. Brian Walker kept it alive. Ramsey gets the ball, has to go back with it. And a foul on Drake Morris. Drake Morris is guilty of his 1st foul, and the 7th of the team will go to the free throw line with the Buckeyes.
Tough break by Drake Morris here. He makes a good hustling play as Ramsey can't hang on to the ball. If Ramsey hadn't have gone down to the floor there, they wouldn't have called the foul if it hadn't have caused a travel situation for Ramsey. But a good call by the official. And good hustle by both players.
Ramsey's 1 out of 2 at the free throw line tonight. He is on the year shooting 94%. We have Arnett Hallman in, and Benson is out now. Ted Benson, the 6'10 freshman, leaves. Arnett Hallman, the 6'7 senior, is in. Ramsey at the line trying to break a 48-48 tie. 9 points for Ramsey. He has scored in double figures in 72 consecutive games. His teammate Herb Williams has scored in 52 consecutive games, and tonight Joe Barry Carroll has upped his mark to 51. Ramsey gets the 10th and breaks the tie, and the Buckeyes lead 49-48. Buckeyes are 7 out of 12 unofficially. Ramsey trying for his 12th point and trying to give the Buckeyes a 2-point lead. It's 50-48. Ohio State leads with 7:12 to play in the game. Drake Morris uses up his dribble, has to get rid of it, and finally does. to Mike Scarce. He's guarded there by Herb Williams. Now a foul is going to be called, and it'll be on Jim Smith. I have him with 5. So Jim Smith leaves with 6 minutes and 58 seconds left. He leaves with 6 points. He fouls out with 6:58. And Joe Barry Carroll is coming back in for the Boilermakers. Jim Smith, the junior out of Cleveland, averaging 8-3, got 6 here tonight. Carroll leaves. Carroll comes in and Walker goes out. That's Steve Walker. Arnett Holman will be at the free throw line. First time that Arnett has been at the line tonight. On the year, he's 5 out of 9. Purdue unofficially 12 out of 19 at the line. Holman has 4 points. Got those in the first half.
Eldon Miller going to take his full 1 minute here to get the substitution in the game. I believe it'll be number 41, Jim Ellinghausen, a senior. Ellinghausen in the ball game has 2 points here in the second half, and indeed that's who will come in. And with Joe Barry Carroll back in there, along with Williams, both with 4 personal fouls, we're going to see a lot of tiptoeing, but yet a lot of hustle.
Kevin Stallings will come into the lineup for the Boilermakers. The 6'5 sophomore out of Collinsville, Illinois, comes in to replace Brian Walker as Coach Lee Rose gets some fresh troops also into the lineup.
Stallings coming in as a little bit better outside shooter than is Brian Walker, so he may be looking for that shot if they're sagging back inside on Carroll.
Buckeyes lead by 2. Arnett Holman has a 1 in bonus. Didn't get this one. It's kept alive, and the Boilermakers pull it down, and Drake Morris gets the ball. Boilermakers 12 out of 20 here at the free throw line tonight. Arnett Holman will set it up for Purdue. Goes to Mike Scarce. And he shuffled his feet. 18 turnovers for Purdue, 15 for the Buckeyes. Ohio State with a 2-point lead and the ball with 6:43 remaining in the game. Ramsey brings it up. Boilermakers in a zone. Ramsey with 11 points here tonight. Carter Scott with 8. This Kellogg, and he has 10. Ramsey. Over to Scott. Ellinghausen. Scott with the ball. Count was on. He brings it back outside. The Boilermakers are getting ready to bring Keith Edmondson back in. 6:10 remaining. The ball comes inside. Williams jumps. Goal. Williams has 12. He's really been hot in the second half. Ohio State leads by 4. 52-48. Purdue coming down. Drake Morris with the ball. Gives it to Carroll. Back to Morris. Arnett Holman outside. Goes to Scarce. Jumps. Shoots. Couldn't get it to stay. And it's pulled off the board there by Kellogg. Kellogg loses the ball out of bounds. It belongs to Purdue on the sidelines. With 5:40 remaining in the game and Ohio State leading by 4. Keith Edmondson comes back into the lineup for the Boilermakers. And Drake Morris will go out. No, Jake Morris will put it in play. Mike Scarce went out. Morris will trigger it inbounds, comes into Stallings. 5:38 remaining. Stallings hawked there by Ramsey. He throws it away. The 19th turnover for the Boilermakers. 16 for the Buckeyes. 5:34 remaining in this one. 4-point spread for the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes have been up by as many as 6 when it was 21-15 back in the first half. Purdue led by 9 early, 9-0. Ramsey on the drive, lays it off to Ellinghausen, comes out to Scott, and it is almost stolen away. Goes into the baseline to Kellogg. He lost the ball. It'll be out of bounds to Ohio State.
Really getting rough and furious beneath the basket as Purdue trying to get the ball back. Brian Walker, number 20, back into the lineup to replace Kevin Stallings. He calls the defense as the Boilermakers need a good defensive series here to get the ball back and not fall behind by 6.
5:13 remaining in the game in this Big Ten battle at St. John Arena. Ramsey with the ball, guarded by Keith Edmondson. Carter Scott with 8 points, equally divided in each half. Ramsey with the ball with 11 points, drives in, puts it up, blocked by Carroll, out of bounds, Ohio State. 5 minutes exactly to play in this one. Your host is Farm Bureau Insurance, and it's 500 agents in the state of Indiana. Inbounds it comes to Herb Williams with 12 points. Here's Kellogg hooking. Good. Kellogg. He has 13. Buckeyes lead by 6, 48-54. Edmondson with the ball. This matches the previous high for the Buckeyes. Arnett Holman, no basket. No basket. There's a foul. Called on Williams, I think. I'm not sure. Or it'll be Ellinghausen. Ellinghausen, his first, the 9th on the team. So a 1-and-1 situation will be up there for Joe Barry Carroll.
Purdue certainly would like to go inside to Carroll now with Ellinghausen on him. Ellinghausen, a senior here at Ohio State, only 6'8", 218 pounds. Carroll at 7'1", about 245 pounds. A great advantage to the Boilermakers, but Ohio State doing a good job with the sag.
Carroll gets his 16th point of the night. 54-49. Carroll looks for the bonus. The senior from Denver, averaging 26, looking for his 17th here tonight. And gets it. On the inbounds play, the Boilermakers get the ball on a violation.
The other night, that cost Indiana a basketball game here at Ohio State as they made the same mistake that OSU made there, and the Boilermakers need to take advantage.
Ryan Walker puts it in bounds to Arnett Holman. He double dribbled, and they didn't call it. And the ball comes off the board, and Ellinghausen gets the ball. Boilermakers had a golden opportunity, knocked away by Purdue. It'll be Ohio State's ball, leading by 4 with 4:27 remaining in this one, being presented by Farm Bureau Insurance and its 500 agents in the state of Indiana. Ohio State's ball, Ellinghausen with the ball. There's an offensive foul on Ellinghausen, his second. The ball goes to Purdue on the 18th turnover of the night for the Buckeyes.
And if you don't think that Coach Lee Rose, Billy Keller, and the rest of the coaching staff over there, Everett Bass and Mark Wise, didn't hold their breath until that call was made, you don't know what's happening in college basketball. As Carroll with a big defensive play to get the offensive foul. 54-54, 24 remaining.
Arnett Holman puts it in play to Brian Walker. Ohio State leads by 4. Only the second game of the Big Ten season, and my, how it has started. 6 of the first 8 games were decided by 4 points or less. Goes to Carroll. Carroll up underneath, stuffs it in. 19 points for him, and a technical for hanging on the rim. 54-52. Basket counts, but there's also a technical, and the Buckeyes will get an opportunity to get one back. Technical foul call for hanging on the rim. 54-52. And at the free throw line is Ramsey. Buckeyes are 8 out of 13 at the line. Ramsey is 3 out of 4. He has 11 points here tonight. Buckeyes lead 55-52, and Buckeyes will have the ball at midcourt. 4:09 left to play in this one. My, what action as Eldon Miller looks for 200 and his 281st victory. Carroll makes the steal. And Keith Edmondson will bring it down.
You would think this basketball game were for the national championship here, the way these teams are playing, and this is really early in the season.
Brian Walker sets it up. It comes to Arnett Holman. He lost the ball out of bounds. It'll be out of bounds, Ohio State. 20 turnovers for Purdue, 19 for Ohio State. 3:53 remaining. Buckeyes by 3. Pressure all over the court. Ramsey with the ball, working against Edmondson lets him go by. Ramsey brings it back out. 3:45 remaining. Ramsey feeds it to Ellinghausen. Jumping, shooting, scoring. Second basket for Ellinghausen. 5 point Buckeyes, 57-52. Brian Walker brings it down. Here's the ball out of bounds. It belongs to Purdue on the sideline. 3:30 remaining in this one. Hang on.
You can't let down for a second as Ohio State and Purdue both playing good basketball here tonight.
We have a timeout with 3:30 remaining to be played in the game. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue trails Ohio State 57-50. Well, the Michigan State squad has come back. They were down like 40-15 at halftime. They've cut now the lead 82-71 with 1:59 remaining. Here, the Buckeyes lead the Boilermakers by 5, 57-52. A reminder that the executive producer for Purdue basketball is Don Tillman. Tonight's game produced by Bob Caldwell, directed by Mike Jacobs. Our network director tonight is John Petritis, and our production facilities are being provided by WBNS TV here in Columbus. The ball belongs to Purdue. The Boilermakers are down by 5. It comes inbounds to Brian Walker. Remember, Williams is playing with 4 fouls out there. Jim Smith has already fouled out. Carroll jumps, scores. Carroll has 21. The Boilermakers cut it 57-54. Carter Scott with 8 brings it up. We have 3:11 left to play. Walker hawking him. Ohio State by 3. Boilermakers led by 1 at the beginning of the second half. The game here at Ohio State, these two teams split last year, both winning on the home court. Here's Carter Scott, had it rejected. It goes back out there to Williams, and he fires it in. He's had about 4 of those from there. 14 points for him, and a 5-point lead for the Buckeyes. 2:47 to play.
Williams came out with blood in his eye after that 4th personal foul when he got back in the lineup.
Carroll almost throws it away. Saved by Walker, but he lost the ball. That's the 21st turnover for the Boilermakers. 5-point lead for Ohio State with 2:30 remaining.
The Buckeyes will probably try to put it in a deep freeze now as they're up by 5 with only 2:24 remaining, and Purdue in foul trouble.
Ramsey with the ball, drives up and scores. Ramsey has 14 and a 7-point lead for the Buckeyes. And the Boilermakers want a timeout with 2:12 to play. You're watching Purdue basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Purdue trails Ohio State 61-54.
This final chapter is being written in the latter part of August 1944, the interior of France. Thousands of our men will soon be returning to you. They've been gone a long time. They've seen and done and felt.
With Bob Ford, this is Joe Pape back in Columbus, Ohio. A jam-packed and loud St. John Arena where the Boilermakers and the Ohio State Buckeyes are battling with 2:12 remaining in this one. And the Buckeyes leading by 7 after the Boilermakers led by 1 at the beginning of the half. The Boilermakers are 14 out of 22 at the line. The Buckeyes are 9 out of 14.
Here in the last 4 or 5 minutes, the difference has been Herb Williams on his outside shooting. He has thrown the ball into the basket 5 or 6 straight times off of rebounds and off of set plays. And he really came to play after he got into foul trouble early.
He has 10 of his 14 points in the second period. Brian Walker goes to Drake Morris. Fires, didn't get it, and it's pulled off by Ramsey. Carroll is after him. Carroll is playing with 4 fouls. We have 1:51 left to play. Ramsey brings it down, drives all the way, lays it off to Ellenhausen, comes back out to Scott. Scott drives down, jumps, and shoots and scores. Scott has 10, and that may have wrapped it up. It's 63-54 for the Buckeyes, who are picked to win the Big Ten. Drake Morris comes out to Brian Walker. Walker sends it in. Ellenhausen knocks it away. And there's a foul called on the Boilermakers. 19 against Ohio State. We have a timeout. So let's take this timeout to hear from our local stations. 90 seconds. This is the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network.
An entire season must pass before an apple ripens naturally. It can't be hurried. The brewing of Old Style can't be hurried either, because Old Style is fully poisoned slowly and naturally. Poisoning is pure brewing, double brewing, the most natural way to brew beer and the most expensive. Heileman's Old Style, pure brewed in God's country, slowly and naturally.
Everyone pays for electricity, but few have a say in what they pay. That's because the Indiana Public Service Commission, which sets our electric rates, is made up of only 3 people. By law, 2 of those have to be attorneys. I'm John Hillenbrand, and as governor, I'll change that and appoint a new commission which represents homemakers, farmers, industry and labor, as well as lawyers.
John Hillenbrand believes if we all have to pay, we should all have a say.
The power sale now at Guarantee Auto Stores. Save on maintenance-free type Cordovan batteries. The 60-month live one just $54.98 exchange. Others as low as $34.98 exchange. Remanufactured starters for most American-made cars, only $26.95 exchange. Take it with you or have Guarantee install it. The power sale. Cordovan batteries as low as $34.98. Remanufactured starters as low as $26.95 exchange. The power sale now at all Guarantee Auto Stores. Dedicated to keeping your automobile and saving you money, too.
1:24 remaining in this one. Ohio State leads Purdue 63-51, and Jim Ellinghausen will be at the free throw line for a wanted bonus. Gets his 5-point, 5th point of the night. The Buckeyes increase their lead 64-54. Buckeyes are 10 out of 15 at the line. Ellinghausen looks for the bonus and gets it. 65-54. Minnesota has defeated Michigan State 93-80. Williams knocked the ball out of bounds, and he's been the difference in the second half.
He is really playing super basketball along with the rest of the Buckeyes here as they got Purdue in kind of a bad spot and really took advantage of it, and the Boilermakers just have not been able to hit the bucket.
Ryan Walker goes inside to Morris, up, missed the basket, kept it alive. Carroll gets the ball, but there's a foul on Ellinghausen. Number 3 on him. But the story's just about been written with 1:09 to play. And an 11-point lead for the Buckeyes.
I think we saw the frustration the Boilermakers have felt here since Joe Barry Carroll got in foul trouble about 6 minutes ago, picked up his 4th. Purdue just hasn't been able to get the lid off the basket, and Drake Morris had a problem with that one.
That's 10 points for Drake. The Boilermakers are 15 out of 23 at the line. That cuts the lead 65-55, but there is only 1 minute plus 9 seconds left. Morris gets them both. He's got 11. Wallace pressure all over the court. Ramsey in the backcourt. Throws it up to Kellogg. Now to Ellinghausen. 1 minute exactly left to play. Kellogg, Boilermakers trying to get the ball, and Steve Walker's guilty of his second foul. And the crowd begins to leave, and they were really packed in here tonight. Nearly 14,000 if they've seen some type of a basketball game.
They saw 2 Titan basketball teams here go at it. Purdue and Ohio State, along with Indiana and Iowa, are picked to battle for this Big Ten championship. And if this first weekend of Big Ten play is any indication, it's going to be one fantastic season.
Kellogg gets his 14th point of the night. And he did the job in the first half, Bob, with 10 early points. Number 24, Lee Cummings, out of Chicago, a sophomore, is in for the Boilermakers, and Brian Walker leaves. Waiting now for the bonus by Clark Kellogg, the Cleveland, Ohio freshman. 2 out of 3 tonight at the line. His average is 11-2. He has 15 here tonight. And the Buckeyes lead 67-56. Drake Morris with the ball. Steve Walker went through and walked. That's been the problem for the Boilermakers. 23 turnovers, but the Buckeyes have thrown the ball away 19 times unofficially.
From the good standpoint of the Boilermakers, as we take a look at that, Steve Walker just couldn't find the handle on that one. Arnett Hallman played a long time tonight and played very well after being out for about 17 days with an injury. And if he comes away from this ball game in pretty good shape, Purdue should be much stronger once he gets back in good physical condition.
Scott with the ball, and we're just letting the time run away now with 34 seconds. And the outcome decided. Just the final score is the determining factor. 67-56. Ohio State leads. Ramsey putting on a dribbling show there. Comes over to Williams, who's had a great second half. And the foul will be called on Steve Walker, his 3rd. Herb Williams has been playing a long time with 4 fouls. He got 3 of those in the first half. And he'll be at the free throw line for the first time tonight.
Ohio State gave up Jim Smith, who also got into foul trouble just moments after Williams did. They kept Smith on Carroll, and Smith finally fouled out of the ball game, and they would rather give him up than give up Herbie Williams.
Williams missed it, pulled off by Kellogg. He lost the ball as Edmondson picks it up. With 18 seconds, Edmondson jumps and shoots from 17, couldn't get it. Ball is kept alive by Steve Walker. He gets it, puts it up there, and it's no good. Carroll tips it. Now it's pulled down by the Buckeyes with 8 seconds, and the ball will be out of bounds to Purdue with 7 seconds remaining in tonight's game. Boilermakers will lose their second of the year, 8-2. The Buckeyes move on 9-1 overall. Buckeyes 2-0 in conference play. The Boilermakers will be 1-1. It comes to Carroll with 5 seconds. Carroll jumps, shoots, no. Edmondson tips it up and in, I believe. Edmondson gets the basket, is 14, and that's the final. The gun sounds and the game is over, and the Ohio State Buckeyes have defeated Purdue by a score of 67-58. That's the final. The Boilermakers lose to Ohio State 67-58. Any reproduction of this telecast is strictly forbidden without the express written permission of Farm Bureau Insurance, which also has the approval of the announcers used in the telecast. This is Joe Pate with Bob Ford speaking from St. John Arena in Columbus.